Hello and welcome to the Mirrored Muse podcast, a sanctuary for the soul and a spark for the revolutionary spirit, where our truth is always reflected, our radiance remembered, and our spirit set free. I'm your host, Whitney Amber, and together we'll journey into the depths of what it means to awaken, embody, and expand as the muse of our own life. Through soulful storytelling, raw reflections, guided practices, and revolutionary conversations, this podcast is here to truly meet you in your own becoming. So let's take a deep breath, soften our edges. It's time to step into the mirror. This is your invitation to rise. Okay, hello, friends. Welcome to today's conversation on the Mirrored Muse podcast. I am coming to you on this day of the new moon in Cancer. So happy new moon to those who celebrate. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the power that we hold in the midst of fear and uncertainty, and the very real responsibility that comes with this often undetected power. That's right, undetected. Most people slip into the fear and the swirl around them, which is easily done. I've been there. I've done that. I totally get it. But today I want to help hold the mirror up so that you can begin to see the power you actually do hold when things feel uncertain and scary or fearful. And especially when the narratives swirling around us are fear-based. So after receiving countless texts toned in deep fear and concern about me being abroad during all that's unfolding on a global level with the U.S., Israel, and Iran, and just with everything else, honestly, that I'm moving through personally, I thought, this is the perfect timing to begin the conversation about the power that we do hold when it seems so much is out of our control. And guys, when fear arises, like it is now in whatever capacity, at the very least, this global situation, there are narratives that oftentimes sneak into our minds that we've got to be aware of, because when they're rooted in fear, they can echo so many things, okay? Like, oh my gosh, let's see. Okay, they can echo things like, oh my God, we've just entered World War III. Or, this doesn't directly affect me, aka avoiding. Or it could echo something like, well, they didn't text me back, they're mad at me. Or they didn't insert your expectation, right? Whatever that is. They did not communicate it in this way. So they don't trust me, or they're not communicating at all. They don't trust me, right? There's a million different narratives that we let just kind of dance around in our minds. And oftentimes we start to believe them. When, to be honest, the other party or parties involved, they're totally unaware of this narrative floating in your mind. And sometimes we let it go so far into believing it that we can really start to hurt, fracture, and distance our meaningful relationships and the people that surround us just by buying into these narratives. So today, I want to do three things. I want to remind you that you're not helpless. You are not a victim, and you actually hold the same power as everyone else on an energetic level. You're not separate from love. Your energy shapes the collective field, and it's from how you speak to strangers to the words you share online. Guys, this is activism. This is leadership. This is taking responsibility, and this is revolutionary living. It's a conscious choice. And that choice is ours to make. We make this choice every day, whether we realize it or not. Second of all, I'm going to, in a few minutes, dive into some of the things that that caught my attention that I was journaling about. And these are just ways that I've noticed I let fear lead in my own life and have let fear lead in my own life over the last several years. And then also, I want to dive into just ways that we can be more aware of the energy that we're putting out into the world and the energy we're putting into our relationships and into ourselves. So I really want to take a macro level concept of fear, and I want to bring it home. I want to bring it down to earth and to your individual heart. And I hope that I can articulate this the way I feel it, because I am so passionate about this. And I think it's so underestimated and significant. Okay, so I want to be very clear, just in the small reference of fear and acknowledging the very real reality of all of the fear and uncertainty that is happening on the global level. This episode is not here to analyze the headlines, that's for sure. But it is here to remember our humanity through them. So let's just take one more deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. And be reminded of our sphere of control and responsibility. And guys, that includes one single thing. So we're going to make this very simplified and easy. And it's true. That one thing, that's you. So right now, just take notice where you are. Are you in your car? Are you on your sofa? Are you on a flight? Are you running errands or on a walk with your AirPods in? Are you at work surrounded by colleagues? Or maybe you're at home surrounded by family. Wherever you are, unless you're driving, I'd ask you to just close your eyes. Forget everything that's going on around you. Try to tune out the noise for just a moment. And I want you to envision that this bubble slowly begins to surround your entire body. This bubble is your sphere of control. Let's be honest. We cannot control anyone or anything else outside of this bubble. It's just me. It's just you. Only me. Only you. It's how you move. It's how you listen. It's how you show up or choose not to. It's how you respond or react. It's how you speak to yourself. And for sure, it's how you choose to speak to others. These choices absolutely contribute and shape your energy. And guess what? Your energy shapes the collective field. So before buying into narratives of fear, in whatever context that resonates with you right now, whether it's globally, whether it's at home, whether it's in your relationships, friendships, or romantically, whatever that is, before you buy into the narratives of fear that cause you to start to slowly spiral mentally, I'd ask you, how can you observe what is going on without absorbing the intensity of fear? What would choosing love look like instead? What would those narratives say and actions reflect? How are you contributing to the energy of peace during this time? We must take responsibility, friends, for the role that we are playing in this collective global energy, because it absolutely matters. And it matters on that scale, and it ripples all the way down into our homes, because we are all transmitters. Your voice, your words, your actions, and energy, they ripple. And love is not always soft. It is the fiercest energy that we have. Love says, when we choose not to engage in reactivity, explosiveness, or righteousness, then softness, truth-telling, and boundaries can absolutely coexist. And this is exactly why the Mirrored Muse podcast was created. This is our soul mission, to speak love, light, and liberation into the corners of every heart, so that we may co-create together a world where humanity becomes a living mirror of harmony, truth, and infinite potential. And when we begin to think of humanity as a living mirror, then we can begin to acknowledge how, things such as the big world events that are happening right now actually mirror our own internal battles. Whether that is self-doubt, fear, grief, or disconnection, all of these are rooted in fear. They're actually an illusion, but that's a conversation for another day. They're not real. But these internal battles, whatever and however they show up for you, I can promise you that they are absolutely reflected in and directly tied to how we listen, how we show up intimately and in intimacy, and for sure our relationships. Making these very three things, how we listen, intimacy, and relationships, foundational components and the front lines of global healing. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds way too simplified, but guys, it's true. It really is true. It comes down to our individual level. So let's take responsibility for that. And global tension surfaces personal shadows, as do relationships. But you know what? We can alchemize these into deeper integrity and care when we take the responsibility for our words, actions, reactions, how well we are choosing to love ourselves, show up in our relationships, and for our own energy. These things are at all times either spreading love and peace or fear. It's really that simple. So if you had to say right now, what energy are you putting out into the world? Does that energy reflect love and peace? Or is it echoing fear? So I want to talk about fear and how we can become more aware of what we are transmitting or putting out into the world. Because guys, fear is sneaky. It does not always storm in the room shouting. Sometimes it tiptoes in, dresses up as logic, protection, or even productivity, and quietly closes us off from love. I was actually reflecting on this, and I was looking through my journals and just thinking about the different events and things that have played out in my life over these last few decades, and also just like what I'm navigating and have been navigating over the last couple weeks. And this is a very vulnerable share. I was not planning to open this up, but I think it's so important and I think it's so needed. And so basically, from some of my reflections and just thinking through everything that has unfolded, I've just made a short list of how I, over the years, have let fear lead in my life. And so, for sure, these are very subtle. But every day, these are ways that we can start to slip out of alignment. So for me, maybe these will resonate with you. But for me, what these have looked like and how I've allowed fear to lead in my life over these years. Overthinking instead of trusting, for sure. Filtering my truth. People pleasing instead of honoring our boundaries. Oof, that one. Scrolling for safety and distraction. Speaking from reaction instead of response. Judging others to feel momentarily safe. Delaying my dreams out of quote-unquote realism. And avoiding conflict at the cost of my truth. And I want to dive in just a little bit, if we can get into that little magnifying mirror of each one of these just briefly, because I want to give examples for me, what in that moment when I'm overthinking instead of trusting, right? In that moment when I'm filtering my truth, or people pleasing instead of honoring my boundaries. I want to dive into these specific moments to highlight what fear is actually saying in that moment versus what love is saying. So let's start with overthinking instead of trusting. So guys, we know what this could look like, right? This could be replaying the conversation over and over and over analyzing in our mind, or editing a post 10 million times, wanting it to be perfect. It's not this enough. It's not that enough. Or we wait until it's perfect, when that's an illusion and perfection, it's just not a thing. So when we are in these moments of overthinking instead of trusting, and I want to zoom into the conversations, right? When we replay conversations that we've had with another over and over and over, there's two parties involved. So I have my thoughts and feelings, and they have their thoughts and feelings. And when we start to overanalyze what was said, or their body language, or this or that, instead of trusting that what was said and needed to be said in that exact moment actually was, what fear is saying, or could be saying, for me anyways, if I just control this enough, I won't be judged. Or if I just control this, I will feel safe, i.e., because I cannot trust the universe or others to have my back, right? When love is saying, let it flow. Your truth is safe here. And love is also saying, let go and trust, for you are deeply held. It is safe. Trust the process. For me right now, this has shown up when I feel like my time is expiring in the current location that I'm in, which is actively happening here in Spain. And, I may not quite know where I'm going next. I definitely don't know the details. So I can start to really overthink and overplan and overanalyze and try to force an outcome. But that's based in fear, right? Because if I have an outcome, if I know what to expect, then I do feel safer. Versus trusting, which this just recently happened. I began to let go and loosen my grip of fear and control, and just was like, you know what, universe, you're the one who sent me on this journey. I know there's purpose in it. There's so much meaning in it. And I'm going to trust whatever needs to happen is going to happen. And so what unfolded is another friend that I met in Bali reached out, and not even purposeful, but had just loosely mentioned that she was looking to sublet her place in France. And I was like, what? And the dates weren't perfectly aligned to mine, but like within a week, okay? And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So when I started to let go, the way opened up, and it was not at all what I expected at all. It was actually way more beautiful. And so I encourage you, when you start to overthink instead of trusting, just start testing the universe a little bit. That's what I do. I know it's not a sexy way, but it's the truth. Just let go and see what happens. But you have to trust, and trust yourself enough to know that however it unfolds, you can hold yourself through it. You've got you. Okay, the next one. Oh, guys, filtering your truth. I've been filtering my truth for years and years and years, which is another aspect of why this podcast is so near and dear to me. Because in this space, I want to be able to express myself freely, and in hopes that helps others liberate their voice and express themselves more freely. But in these moments when we filter our truth, we're actually diluting our message, or we're trying to dial down the anger or negative emotions that are coming up, and we code switch to meet the expectations of another. That's suppressing our voice. And what fear is saying in these situations is, oh, don't rock the boat. But love is also saying, Your voice is the medicine. It's the whole point. Now, this next one, people pleasing instead of honoring our boundaries. So this is when we say yes, when our body and intuition is fully telling us no. Say no. Or we shrink to be digestible. When this happens, fear is saying, if I disappoint them, I'll lose love. Or if I say the thing that's coming up in my body, or if I place the boundary that I know I need to set, I'll lose their friendship. Because love is saying, real love honors your wholeness. And I want to take a second to pause right now, because speaking from my own personal experience, I think there's a lot of us who have experienced quote unquote love, but was really the projection of fear from the other or from another, whether that be a parent, whether that be a partner, whether that be a sibling, a family member. The list can go on. But real love truly honors our wholeness. And when love is present in whatever conversation or situation is going down, when we set boundaries for ourselves and we put that into action by using our voice and saying it, when love is present, respect tends to follow that boundary setting. This one hits so close to home right now. Just in a recent situation with a dear friend of over 9 years. I felt this deeply in my body that I needed to communicate. And while my communication may not have been perfect, I said it I communicated it the best I knew how at the time. And which I think was perceived hurtful on the other side. So we have another conversation about it. I show up to the table with pure love because I adored this human. I cherish the friendship. And when we do that, we do not have control, or usually we just don't know if the other person is going to show up in fear and buy into narratives that are going on, whether in their mind or in their context of whatever's unfolding in their lives at the moment. And all we can control is how we show up. And so we have a conversation. And I realized that it didn't feel like love was present on the other side of the table, which is one of the hardest things to experience, to be honest. And ultimately, by me setting a boundary, it wasn't respected. It was perceived as hurtful or me not trusting her, when that was not at all the intention or motive behind my actions and conversations. And so when this happens, friends, because it will probably happen at least once in your lifetime, when this happens, it is hurtful. We can't deny the human emotion behind that. But also, there's so much more self-love and self-respect that follows by honoring whatever that boundary is telling you to set. And so sometimes that can result in losing a friendship. Sometimes that can result in just seeing some distance come into the friendship for a while until the energy kind of balances. And if the other person chooses to come back into love, then okay, we're back, right? So that one hits very, very close. Now, scrolling for safety and distraction. We are all so guilty of this because we have our phones and we check them compulsively for validation, distraction, or reassurance. Oftentimes, right? Not always, but very often. And sometimes this happens so often that we don't even realize what we're doing. But in this moment, fear is really saying either I need to stay ahead, or I need to compare myself, or I am comparing myself, which is the most dangerous thing to do because there's only one you. Fear is also saying, I need to consume to feel okay and drown out the noise, to numb out and to feel safe. But oftentimes what we can't hear love saying at the same time is that your presence is enough. Your worth is not earned online. Now, speaking from reaction instead of response. This one used to be, still does a little bit, but speaking from reaction instead of response, or in the same kind of context, is when someone's telling you something and you're not even listening because you're already thinking about what you're going to say back to them, which to me is very reactionary. That's not responsive. Hits home because I love my family so dearly, so freaking dearly and fiercely. But growing up, this was kind of the norm for me. Was no one's really listening to what you have to say. They're already trying to figure out what they're going to say in response, which it just makes the other person feel not heard and not seen or valued. Kind of like it's saying what you have to say is not valuable. And oftentimes, I don't think that that's really the intention from the other person, but that's kind of how it plays out. So this can also look like when we're venting or lashing out or posting without checking the true energy that's lying underneath. Why am I posting this? And in these moments, fear is saying, I need to be right. I need to be loud. There's only enough room for my voice to be heard. But love is also trying to tell us, when we respond with truth, but no compassion, then that truth becomes a weapon. So next time, let's just pause for a moment before we react in speech. Now the next one, judging others to feel momentarily safe. Okay, we have all been there. We have all done that. It's easy, and it kind of falls into this, it absolutely falls into this context of comparison, right? It's that moment when you catch yourself in a silent thought of, who does she think she is? Or who does he think he is? Fear is saying their light threatens mine. When in reality, love is trying to tell us, no, actually, you're judging them because their light reflects mine. And then delaying your dreams out of realism. Guys, I've been in this one for 3 years, for sure. So not only am I owning all of these that I've listed out because they've come from my own personal life, but this one is just the most recent one that I've decided to made the choice, right, to shift the thinking around it. This is when we play small and call it being responsible, right? I was playing small 100% by being in consulting for 5 or 6 years, however long I was in consulting. Because in my mind, right, the narrative that I bought into of fear said, you're only successful if you're a consultant. Or it's when we procrastinate the launch or creation, the ask and taking the leap. Guys, I have been living this. I've been living this for the last, year. I have put off this dream of creating something, this dream of the mirrored muse. I've put that off in lieu of helping others bring their dreams to life, in lieu of, diving into other things to distract me from my own gifts. And then taking the leap to do this travel. This is absolutely a separate conversation, but it was not easy. It did not make an ounce of logical sense. I can assure you that. But there was just this deep knowing telling me to take the leap. So when we are delaying our dreams out of realism, when we're playing small and calling it responsible, when we're procrastinating doing the thing that we feel prompted to do, fear is saying, oh, it's too risky. It doesn't make sense. What will they think? What will they say? When love is saying, this is your assignment. This is your soul mission. There's only you. And only you can do it in this way. Let's freaking go. That's love. And then last one, I swear. This, avoiding conflict at the cost of your truth. This also takes me back to being a kid in a million different ways. This has played out over the last several years in relationships. Oh my God. This is when we keep the peace externally while this voice of truth is raging inside of us, right? Or when we're in an argument or in a heated conversation and someone is just talking at us, saying so many things that just aren't true, either about the situation or about you. And when we choose to stay quiet and we're avoiding just to avoid the conflict, fear is telling us, oh, don't make it awkward. What if you're wrong? Again, it's similar to don't rock the boat, right? Be the bigger person, keep the peace. Sometimes it's not always being the bigger person by staying silent. Because what love is often saying simultaneously that we may not hear as loudly, she's saying speak. Even if your voice shakes, speak your truth. Speak. So these are just things that I had written down, reflecting over, like I said, many years of journaling and just different situations that have played out in the past, but also things that are actively playing out right now as I'm recording this. And so maybe they resonate with you. Maybe we can start to be a little bit more aware of when these things happen. What is fear saying? But also, let me turn up the dial and the volume on love. What is she saying? And these may be small, tiny, macro little moments, but I can assure you they most certainly carry macro consequences for our nervous systems. Also for our relationships. And for sure, the world that we are helping to shape. And now that we've kind of dove into fear and what those narratives can look like, I do want to talk about just some ways that we can be more aware of the energy that we're putting out into the world. And these are things, guys, that I 100% have used to increase my own awareness and to move through fear in a way that's not reactionary and it's not based on an external source. And so some of these things that we can do to be more aware of the energy is just tune into your body. Our body is so wise. It's communicating to us all the time, whether we are choosing to listen or not. I promise our body is always communicating to us. So just tune into it. Then name the energy underneath. Whatever is happening, however you're wanting to respond or react, or the post that you're wanting to make, what is the why? What is the intention and the energy behind it? Is it to compete? Is it to compare? Is it to spread compassion? What is that energy? Name it. And then my favorite one is practicing a pause. In whatever situation. For me, mostly this has come up in like a heated argument when someone's coming at me fiercely because they're upset and they have big, emotions such as anger or fear or control. Let them throw those words out because they need to get them out of their body. However, again, this goes back to observing, not absorbing. I will oftentimes envision a glass wall in between me and the other person. So that there's this illustration, right, of all the negative words that I feel like are not at all resonating with me or the situation, sometimes it's me and the situation, they're getting those words out. But with that glass wall, those words never reach my energetic bubble, my sphere of control, right? They stay with that person. And I'm still able to hear them, but it kind of helps me not take it personal. And it helps me to see those words stay in their context, because that is very real for them. And with this glass wall comes a powerful pause. Give it 30 seconds. Give it 5 seconds. Even 5 seconds makes a big difference. But anywhere between 5 to 30 seconds, just pause. Don't say anything. Just be. Take a deep breath. And then choose how you want to respond. Because those few seconds of stillness creates space between the other person and the anger or whatever the stimulus is and the response. And that is where intention lives. That is where we individually have the power to shape the outcome of that conversation or situation. And then, I love a daily mantra. Okay, guys, this one is bitter. This one is, how do I say this? A love-hate relationship. Because when it comes to mantras and affirmations, it took me years. Oh my God, years. I'll never forget years ago sitting in front of my therapist when I was a few years out from my divorce. And I was like, I don't know why everybody's talking about affirmations. Like, I can say whatever I want to say in the mirror, but I just can't bring it from my head to my heart. Like, basically, I just thought it was a bunch of shit. Like, another trendy way, right, to become more healed. And I was just so mad at the concept. And it took me a while. But they're really powerful, because the power in a mantra or an affirmation I can now see, and I actually live by these affirmations. I love them. What I can now see is the whole purpose and intention behind mantras and affirmations are to help rewrite and shift our old beliefs, our limiting beliefs, right? And that's so necessary in any type of transformation or evolution of of just our whole being, to be honest. When we're going through any kind of change, that we're always met with some sort of limiting belief, which is rooted in fear. Limiting beliefs are rooted in fear. But in order to change those limiting beliefs, in order to get to the next phase or step or whatever that looks like for you, this is where mantras and affirmations come into play. So when you first say them out loud, no, they're probably not going to resonate. And you're just going to be looking at yourself in the mirror like, I know I don't believe this, but hey, that's okay. I was there, but now I'm here. So if I was there and now I'm here, I know that you can start right now in this moment with affirmations and get there eventually too. So just trust, okay? Trust me as your evidence and a million other people as your evidence, and trust yourself that you have the power to shift those limiting beliefs through these affirmations. So what a daily affirmation or mantra can look like to help you be more aware of your energy for the day, excuse me, is it can sound something like, I exude calm and clarity. And I typically like to say them over and over and over and over. I exude calm and clarity. Or my voice carries peace and power. Or I am love. I am love. It can really be that simple. I am love. And today I choose love. One last one. Let's see. I share from wholeness, not from needing. And last but not least, two more things that I've noted here that we can do to become more conscious of our energy. The first one, audit your digital energy field. Yes, this is social media. Yes, this is what you're consuming. What you're consuming either has a tone of fear or it has a tone of love. 99% of news, guys, it's rooted in fear. It's shaping a very specific narrative. So just be mindful of that and everything else that you consume. And just ask yourself, is this feeding into my narratives of fear, or is this feeding into my new journey of love and seeing love in the world and being love, spreading love. Now, this is the last one. Being willing to recalibrate in real time. This is hard, friends. This is hard. And sometimes we slip and we may speak from fear or we post from ego. That's okay. What matters is that you're willing to course correct with love. So just check in and just ask yourself often, what would love do now? And for some of us, this is a new concept. So we're going to have little wobbly Bambi legs as we navigate this, as expected. So have compassion with yourself, okay? That's actually self-love. And just continue to check in. What would love do now? Or what would little me need in this moment right now? Because oftentimes, as little people, we're just asking for love. And so a lot of times when we go back to our inner child or little person and we ask, what would he or she need in this moment? Oh, that one's been a huge help for me. So maybe it'll help you. Okay. I know we've talked through several different practices and ways to keep in mind to just be aware of fear, and also how we are choosing fear and love at all times. And regardless of what we're choosing, we are continuously playing into a bigger illustration, a bigger field of energy. So this absolutely takes practice, but don't worry, I got you. I'll be sure and post these on our Instagram page so that you can have them to refer back to or save or just as reminders. So they're not going anywhere. You will have those in your back pocket soon. I do just want to mention your nervous system, guys, is part of the collective. And when you choose calm over chaos, when you choose truth over trend, and love over fear, 1000% bottom line, you change the frequency for all of us. So before you see the news and you think, oh my God, and the fear narrative set in, just remember, you as an individual reading, hearing, seeing this information, you do have power. You actually have a lot of power. And that's what gets lost in translation of big world events and little home moments, little relationship moments. So bring the power back to yourself. Don't paint a picture of powerlessness, because it's not real and it's not true. What is true is you have a lot of power in these moments. And these small moments shape larger moments. And I have one last little story I do want to share, because I think this absolutely speaks to the power of love and the power of intention to show up in love. And to be quite honest with you, this is one of the most monumental moments of my entire life to this day, of when I chose love over fear. So in January 2024, my first mother-in-law passed away. And at this point, I was about 8 years post-divorce, and I had not talked to anyone in the family for at least that long. I would often, maybe send a happy birthday here and there, and for sure send them love from afar, but hadn't really had personal contact with them at all. And so she passes away. It was a little, I think it was quite unexpected. She was so young, and I cherished our relationship. Oh my God, I adored her. And honestly, she has shaped, I spent close to 9 years with the family and with her, and she has shaped an immense part of who I have become. And so I just remember I was met with this decision. Am I going to let fear win, that said a million things, but of those 1 million, a couple said, oh, just send flowers. You don't have to physically be present. You can send love from afar. Fear also said, if you show up, or fear said, if you go, right, then it's going to draw too much attention and you don't want to distract from the whole reason of the ceremony. And also fear said, Whitney, you've not talked to these people in forever, right? And when we sever a relationship that, it doesn't matter really how long we've been together, but for sure, those that have been together for several years, like, it's never fun. It never feels good, right? And I just didn't know how I would be met on the other side. So there were a lot of fear narratives going on saying, oh, you don't have to go, just send love and send flowers and that's enough. But then I woke up that morning and it was a Sunday and something just told me, Whitney, you absolutely adored this woman and she has played such a pivotal role in your life, along with the family, but specifically her. Are you sure you don't want to show up to remember that love and to honor and cherish that relationship and to honor and cherish everything that the relationship and the family taught you about yourself? Like, isn't that love for them and you? And I was like, oh my God, it is. Okay, so that morning I get ready. I head back to my hometown. And the whole way there, guys, I'm talking in my car and I'm like, okay, all right, universe team, like, all I have control of is how I show up. And I'm going to show up in 1000% love because I love them. I love them to my core. And I knew that was true. I love them. I want to show up in love. This is not about the past. This is not about fear. This is about love and honoring an absolute beautiful soul and beautiful life and legacy that this woman left behind, and honoring the impact that she had in my life. And so I go. My sister, my ride or die for real. I was like, sis, can you go with me? This is intimidating, because not only was I going back to the ceremony was being held in the church, the very church that I had gotten married, that my first husband and I had gotten married in. So I would be walking down the same, it was just a lot. Okay. So I decided to show up. My sister goes with me. And I just was talking to the universe the whole time, like, okay, guys, I love them and I want them to know that. This is not about anything other than that. And I don't know how they're going to meet me, but I'm just going to trust this and I'm going to show up in love. Okay, bottom line, I had sent flowers. It was the minute I got the news, I knew exactly, boom, just like came to me what I needed to send. So I sent those. And when I walked into the space, I see the roses right at the head of her casket. And I was just like, oh my God, first sign of love, right? Like, wow, what a hug to my heart. It just felt so, oh yeah. And then I'm seeing all the church members and all the people who very closely surrounded that marriage for us in that relationship. And when you mix that in a religious context, you just really don't know, like, again, others can choose to show up in fear or love, and we don't know how they're going to meet us. But I walked in and I saw those flowers and I was like, oh my God, wow, this is love. And I was like, oh, thank you, universe. And then I walk in and I see my first husband's brother. And just, it's so interesting to feel emotionally in the same place you were 9 years ago and still emotionally connected to these humans, but also realize the very real, the very reality that so many years have passed, right? And we've changed and gone in so many different directions. But it was like the minute I saw him and then I saw his other brother and then I saw his sister, I was just like, oh, my heart loves them so much. And I felt the heaviness of their grief, but I saw the gold in their family legacy and what holds them together, and the gold that their mother has very specifically and intentionally painted to hold them together. And that gold is love. And when I tell you that when things ended in a divorce, as often they are, it was not at all aggressive at all, but it just wasn't happy. It wasn't, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't beautiful. It definitely wasn't rainbows and butterflies. It just was messy and hurtful. And so to show up in that place and give the love, right? I chose to show up in love, speak love, show love to them, because that's what I feel. When I tell you that I was probably one of the most loved humans in the entire ceremony in church that day, that is the truth. Because they too chose to meet me in that love. And now in a lot of aspects and regards, I would define this as a miracle for sure. Especially because I know his sister was not a fan of mine after everything happened. And guys, she walked right up to me and her husband and gave me a hug and said, "I love you, Whitney. Thank you for being here." Friends, that's love. That's not fear. That's love. So love is a choice. It's more than a possibility. And it is so freaking powerful. It can shift heart postures in others and completely change outcomes. This is from an individual level, a relationship of all kinds, and for sure, a global level. So I just want to ask you, from a macro level, we've read the history books. We know the patterns of potential outcomes there, but don't you want to help create a different outcome this time? I know I most certainly do. And not only do I know it's possible, it's necessary. Guys, we chose to be alive right here, right now, to be revolutionary and to do it differently. The choice is ours. For me, I choose love. I absolutely chose fear for far too long, which kept me small, silenced, and seeing this big, beautiful, ever-evolving world through the same outdated, limited lens. And I missed out on so many opportunities to see love, to feel love, to show love. So you can catch me learning to love in all the different languages and without borders, especially during my travels, by smiling at strangers, paying it forward, and planting seeds of love wherever my feet walk and to whomever crosses my path. So today, friends, I hope you choose love too. You don't need a platform to make an impact. You are the platform. The revolution is in how you love. Okay, friends, thank you so much for trusting me with your time and for joining this moment, this mirror and movement of remembering. If this episode moved or sparked something within you, I'd be so honored and jazzed if you'd share it, leave a review, post a comment, keep the conversation going, invite a friend into the conversation, and give us a follow on our Instagram page at The Mirrored Muse, which is where you can find more reflections, resources, and community. Until next time, stay wild, stay soft, and never forget, you are the Muse.